Murderbot, Apple TV Plus's new sci-fi comedy, is not like any other robot show, and that's exactly what makes it so compelling. Based on Martha Wells' beloved Murderbot Diaries, the series centers on a cranky, semi-depressed security android who's hacked its control system. But instead of going rogue and killing humans, this robot just wants to be left alone, to binge-watch soap operas. Yes, really. Developed by Chris and Paul Weitz, best known for About a Boy, the show stars Alexander Skarsgård and also serves as an executive producer. The first season is a loose adaptation of All Systems Red, the novella that kicked off the book series. The show leans heavily into the source material's dry humor, existential themes, and the delightfully awkward charm that fans loved in the books. Here's the premise. Murderbot is a part organic, part machine security unit, or SEC unit, built to protect humans on dangerous off-world missions. After secretly disabling its governor module, the tech that keeps it under human control, it becomes technically autonomous. But instead of embracing freedom in the dramatic fashion you might expect, it mostly just wants to avoid talking to people and spend all its time watching a cheesy soap opera called The Rise and Fall of Sanctuary Moon. Unfortunately, things don't stay quiet for long. When members of the human research team, Murderbot is assigned to start dying under suspicious circumstances, the android is forced to intervene, not out of loyalty, but because no one else is equipped to deal with the threat. What follows is a reluctant journey into danger, mystery, and personal growth. The series runs for 10 episodes, each about 25 minutes long. But here's the catch. The original story is only about 150 pages, and that leads to some pacing issues. Like many streaming shows, Murderbot falls into season-long pilot syndrome, spending too much time establishing the premise and characters, and not enough on forward momentum. The first few episodes can feel a little bit slow, repeating Murderbot's internal dilemma and interactions without adding much new. That said, patient viewers are rewarded. The second half of the season ramps up the plot, deepens the relationships between characters, and delivers a few satisfying action sequences. Adapting the book's distinctive first-person voice was no easy task. In the novellas, Murderbot's internal monologue is central to the story, dry, anxious, and often hilarious. To capture that on screen, the creative team uses voiceover narration to bring Murderbot's thoughts directly to the audience. This approach, along with expressive visual storytelling, helps preserve the tone of the books while keeping the show accessible to newcomers. Ultimately, Murderbot stands out thanks to its unique protagonist, solid cast, and offbeat humor. While it takes a little time to find its rhythm, the show offers a fresh spin on sci-fi tropes and introduces a robot hero who's more interested in TV marathons than taking over the world. Let's start with Skarsgård. As Murderbot, he manages to capture a character who's both emotionally detached and weirdly relatable. The android might be physically imposing and technically a deadly weapon, but all it wants is to avoid human interaction. Skarsgård nails the tone. His voice work and physical performance, done via motion capture, blends robotic restraint with subtle emotional beats, delivering just the right amount of deadpan sass and existential anxiety. Filling out the rest of Murderbot's team are a group of scientists and researchers, each with their own quirks and layers. Noma Dumezweni plays Dr. Mensah, the team's moral and emotional anchor. Calm under pressure and deeply empathetic, she's the one who first begins to see Murderbot as more than just a machine. Her relationship with the SEC unit is one of the emotional cores of the series, slowly developing from suspicion to something closer to trust and even friendship. David Dasmalkian plays Garathan, a cynical and tech-savvy member of the crew who's suspicious of Murderbot's free will and isn't afraid to say so. His character adds a bit of tension, always questioning whether the android can truly be trusted. Sabrina Wu brings levity as Pinley, a practical and sharp-witted team member who often acts as the bridge between the more serious characters. Her chemistry with the rest of the cast helps lighten scenes and adds some relatable and grounded energy. Akshay Khanna and Tatiana Jones play Rathi and Arata, two supportive but cautious crewmates who mostly operate in the background but get more development as the mystery around the dead researchers unfolds. Their roles grow steadily through the season, as they begin to rely more on Murderbot despite their fears. Tamara Podemski rounds out the team as Bharadwaj, another pragmatic crew member with a deep sense of responsibility. She's one of the first to suggest that Murderbot might have more agency and feelings than it lets on. The dynamic among this cast is what brings Murderbot to life. The relationships are awkward, tense, funny, and slowly transformative, And that's what makes the show work. Underneath the sci-fi, tech, and corporate conspiracies, it's a story about what it means to be human, or not, and how connection can happen in the weirdest of circumstances. Murderbot is easily one of the most visually striking sci-fi shows in recent years. From the sets to the costumes, colors, and effects, the Apple TV Plus series really brings its futuristic world to life with a lot of style and attention to detail. The show was primarily shot in Vancouver, and it really makes use of the city's diverse architecture, as well as top-notch sound stages, to create everything from high-tech corporate spaces to alien planets. Vancouver's versatility gives the series a sleek, modern vibe, and the end result is a world that feels both strange and strangely familiar at the same time. Apple definitely didn't skimp on the budget for this show, and you can tell. Every shot feels polished, with crisp production design and sets that are clearly well thought out. It doesn't fall into the trap of using the usual grim, washed-out color schemes that a lot of modern sci-fi shows do. Instead, Murderbot opts for a much more vibrant, exaggerated color palette that really sets it apart visually. You see this most clearly in scenes where the show features the rise and fall of Sanctuary Moon, a fictional soap opera that Murderbot is obsessed with. These sequences are full of neon lights, dramatic lighting, and over-the-top melodrama, which makes for a fun contrast to the more toned-down mood of the main story. These soap opera moments also give us a peek into Murderbot's mind. They're all about comfort and escapism, for a character who otherwise avoids getting emotionally involved with anything or anyone. But even beyond the soap opera stuff, Murderbot has a really distinct and strong aesthetic. The show mixes sleek sci-fi minimalism with a touch of gritty realism. The corporate-owned space stations are cold and functional, while remote research sites or planetary outposts feel more lived-in and utilitarian. Every location has its own vibe but still fits within the same world, which is something that really stands out in a lot of sci-fi. Whether you're on a sterile spaceship or in a desolate alien landscape, the world always feels cohesive and believable. Costume design is another big part of what gives the show its unique look. Take Murderbot itself, for example. Its sleek, armored look is practical but worn, hinting at its role as a security unit while also showing its detachment from human culture. The armor is very functional, nothing flashy, which perfectly matches the character's personality to the point of being emotionally distant. On the other hand, the human characters wear practical, relaxed, off-world clothes, which emphasizes the contrast between the human's organic, free-willed nature and the robot's more programmed, mechanical existence. To pull off all these complex environments and action scenes, the show uses advanced visual effects and some pretty impressive virtual production tools. The final product gives the impression that they're using real-time rendering and digital backdrops, similar to what you see in shows like The Mandalorian. These tools allow for things like dynamic lighting, realistic reflections, and expansive environments that don't require the crew to actually travel to far-off planets. They blend practical sets with digital extensions really seamlessly, which helps keep the world grounded, even when the action gets a little more out there. All these visual elements, like bold colors, carefully designed sets, smart costume choices, and top-notch VFX, don't just look cool. They also support the show's deeper narrative. They're a reflection of Murderbot itself, a mix of cold logic, suppressed emotions, and hidden vulnerability. The visual style helps tell the story of a robot who's not quite human, but is trying to navigate a human world. And that's what really makes the show stand out. It's not just a well-made sci-fi series, but a carefully crafted visual experience that tells a compelling story about a character who's both more and less than human. If you're into quirky sci-fi, slow-burn character stories, or just want to see a robot who'd rather watch TV than deal with people, Murderbot is worth checking out. Thanks for watching Collider. See you next time.